Well, hello again, my friends, and welcome to another brand new episode of Dunswell Zoo. Today we are building for the curious little Goeldi's monkey, also known as Goeldi's marmoset. Yeah, probably one of the smaller animals I've ever built for, and just the general shape of the habitat was quite difficult, as well as the space we've got to work with. So I wanted a little sort of temple style building for their indoor accommodation, and then the original plan was to have the outside be covered. Most Goeldi's monkeys habitats that I've seen that have outdoor access, they are covered. So we're talking like mesh sort of cages, an aviary sort of style thing. I did attempt a little mesh cage sort of thing, and it didn't look too great because of the shape of the habitat. So we're either going to end up wasting quite a lot of space just to get a square cage in, essentially, or we sort of bite the bullet and say, okay, we'll have it open topped, but very few high trees, very small chance of the Goeldi's monkeys from escaping, and we'll also add some like implied electric wire around the top, and that looks the part. It's not necessarily the most realistic in terms of how Goeldi's monkeys are displayed in captivity, but it's definitely an okay habitat. I will probably come back to this habitat at some point and either completely redo it or just touch it up a little bit. Just because there are a few things that I'm not quite happy with, and there are a few things I think could be improved. And unfortunately, part of that is due to the scaling within Planet Zoo. So the Goeldi's monkey mod and the size of the pieces in the game, they disappear. And the Goeldi's monkeys disappear. So I want to put some smaller plants in, some more intricate climbing structures, things like that. I just A, didn't have the time, and B, didn't really expect them to be quite as small as they were. It does mean, however, that by doing that, if we do get official marmosets and tamarins as habitat animals, which I hope we will, it's very likely that Planet Zoo will add some more small plants and some more smaller climbing pieces and smaller enrichment for those animals, just because the enrichment at the minute, obviously the mod is based off the capuchin, so it's everything scaled to the capuchin. So what can I tell you about the Goeldi's monkeys? So they're black with a lighter coloration around their face, very sort of shaggy thick fur. Their nails are more like claws, except for their large toes, which is interesting. They're part of the family which includes tamarins and marmosets, although they have several characteristics that set them apart, and that's why they're called Goeldi's monkey and Goeldi's marmoset. It's the same animal, they're just the name's interchangeable. They give birth to single individuals rather than twins, and the males don't really have a role in the child rearing, unlike in tamarins and marmosets. They also have a much larger range than other tamarins and marmosets, and they're the only primates known to eat mushrooms as a substantial part of their diet. They're vertical climbers primarily, and they can reportedly leap a distance of 4 meters without losing height. So they can leap from one tree to another, turn in flight, and grab their target. This would mean that technically they could escape from this habitat, but they don't function like that in the game, so I think we're alright. They travel roughly 1.2 miles per day in a circular pattern. So it could be that we build a circular habitat in the future in order to better reflect that. Very, very small animals. The average height of a Goeldi's monkey is about 9 inches, which is 23 centimetres, something like that. So they're really quite small, and they're found in southern Colombia, eastern Ecuador and Peru, western Brazil, and northern Bolivia. They inhabit areas of the Amazon rainforest with patchy canopy cover and strong undergrowth, such as bamboo forests and forests with discontinuous canopies but well-developed scrub. And they spend the majority of their time about 5 meters high in the tree, depending on how high the tree is, obviously. They do eat fruits, insects, and small vertebrates. They'll also feed on fruiting trees, but they do eat mushrooms, as I mentioned earlier, which is quite interesting. They prefer to sleep in hollow trees and rest in dense groups about 3 times a day for up to an hour and a half each time. And they often sunbathe and groom each other. And they're known to live for up to 21 years in the care of humans, the proper care of humans, it's worth pointing out. Of course, we've got our Goeldi's monkeys in Adventure Andes. Now, why is that? It's because the vulnerable Goeldi's monkeys are actually also found in the... Let me find the bit where we talk about that. They're found in the base of the Cordillera Oriental of the Andes in Colombia, along with the Putumayo and Caqueta rivers. Hopefully I've pronounced that correct. So they are found at the base of the Colombian Andes, and that's what we're going with here. The only other place I could have put these, really, other than Expedition Ecuador, was an area that I'm potentially going to develop called miniature monkeys. It's not 100% certain that I'm going to include it yet. It's just an idea I'm flirting around with, but it would feature all the small sort of tamarins and marmosets and things like that. Goeldi's monkey would have been one of them. But they are vulnerable, and we do have a breeding group here at Dunswell Zoo. They've come from a few different places. We have 1 male and 3 females. The male is a rescue from a pet. Obviously, primates should never be kept as pets. And the females have come from different collections to form a new genetic breeding program. So we'll be able to breed these for a long time, hopefully, and get lots of Goeldi's monkeys going, because they are quite small, and the habitat, believe it or not, isn't that much bigger than what they need. Usually I give them double, if not more than that, of their requirements, but in this instance I've given them only, well, I didn't choose to, but it turns out I've only just given them enough climbing and traversable area, which is interesting. Now, we're using blueprints here. I genuinely can't remember who these blueprints are by. I will look on Steam and put the name in the description, but they work really well for the South American habitats, particularly South American primates, and we use the ones from the blueprint set, and then I copy one over from the black howler monkey habitat. We of course adjust it a little bit because we're not dealing with something the size of a howler monkey. We're dealing with something much, much smaller, making use of that new flexi-colour thatch, and I wanted a sort of greyish green colour, so that's what we've gone for there. And just make it look nice, try to minimise the Z-fighting, and struggling to find somewhere to put everything, and I put it there in an attempt to block the water trough just raising that back wall a bit higher, because I really didn't want them to be able to jump from the little shelter over the wall, because there's going to be a cat what's behind there and another species of monkey. The cat mod is already out. It's the cod, and the monkey, the mod isn't out yet. I'm hoping we're going to get a mod, or an official release perhaps even, which will be a woolly monkey. Personally, I'm hoping for a yellow, I think it's a yellow woolly monkey or a yellow-tailed woolly monkey. They were going to be mixed with mountain tapirs, but I think I'm just going to have them on their own. So the planting for this habitat, I just abandoned the South American theming after a while. There just simply wasn't enough plants in the right size that I was looking for. So we've got a lot of sort of ferns and shrubs and bushes, lots of ground cover, which of course they like in the wild. And then the trees, we've got a mixture of climbable and non-climbable trees, simply because some of the climbable trees were purely for the purpose of the monkeys having something to climb, and the non-climbable trees, I just like the aesthetics of them, particularly the Aquilaria tree. It's a nice tree to work with, even if it isn't necessarily native to South America. It's Asian, actually, if I recall correctly. So the indoor area is probably the area I'm least happy with. It looks very basic, and it's well below what I'm capable of, but I just wasn't getting much inspiration for the indoor area, and they needed a traversable area as well. So it was finding the balance between what worked, essentially, what worked and what looked the part. What are we doing here? Oh yeah, the sleeping, the hay and things. Now I could have used one of NDP's hollow log pieces. I'm actually in the process of removing the NDP mod pieces from the game. So there's either artware, it's the NDP faux rock pack, and I don't know if anyone else is experiencing these issues. I certainly am. The textures don't load in properly. They're always like blurry, and it's been like this for a few updates now, and I've reported it on the Nexus, and nothing's been done. So rather than wait for an update what doesn't seem to be happening, because there's been a fair few updates now what have passed and the mod hasn't been updated to reflect that, I'm just going to remove the faux rock pieces, and we'll work with the vanilla faux rocks and the vanilla real rocks, and we'll use what we can from there. This roof was an absolute nightmare because it's not on a full grid. Nothing was lining up properly, and I couldn't get the pieces to go how I wanted them to, and it looked stupid, and there was overlap, and in the end I just decided to go with a flat roof. Not what I wanted, but it gets the job done. Yeah, this was an absolute nightmare. I cannot stress how much I struggled with this roof. I was sat here like exasperated. Like, oh, why won't it work? But that's what you deal with when you're building. Some things work, some things don't. Such is life. So we go for a flat thatch roof, and we put some opaque glass in the middle, just to give it that sort of illusion that light is allowed in, but not too much light, 'cause it is of course an indoor area, somewhere that the Goeldi's monkeys can get some peace and quiet, bit of shade away from the sun, and so on. And we should be coming up to the cinematics any minute now, possibly. Maybe. Ignore my stomach growling. No, we're not. No, we've got some more to do yet. I thought we did. So I just wanted to frame this window, and I think I'm relatively happy with how this window came out as far as the framing's concerned. It's not fantastic, but it serves its sort of rustic look that I wanted. You know, I wanted this to look like it's having the paint chipped away from it, and it's a bit older, and this piece, what we got in the tropical pack, is perfect for that. And then just putting some more fencing in, because obviously you don't want guests putting their fingers through the holes, because the monkeys will bite. And little Timmy will go crying to mummy and daddy when he gets bitten by a monkey, because he put his fingers in the cage like a stupid little boy, and somehow it's apparently the monkey's fault. But yeah, it was just A, for decoration, and B, it has a practical purpose. You know, it's just an extra deterrent to stop guests from putting their fingers through the bars. So we go ahead and put another fence in here for the guests, and then we also do some custom billboards. So usually we use the generic vanilla billboards, you know, vanilla bamboo anyway. I'm replacing it with a painted bamboo, and this was an absolute nightmare. Yeah, replaced it with a painted bamboo, and then we match the colour of the education board to the bamboo climbing structures on the inside of the habitat. Like so. Now, there wasn't much room to work with here, so it was really quite a fine art getting everything to fit in, and I hope it looks okay. But this should be the last thing before the cinematics. So I shall thank you all for watching, and please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed the video and would like to see more Planet Zoo content. There is plenty more on the way, and if you haven't already, check out the update video which explains why there might be a bit of a hiccup in content in the coming weeks and months, because I've got a job, a full-time job. So extra money, great. Less time, not so great. But we'll see what happens anyway. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram on 2 accounts. The first is at JW_YT, and that's my Planet Zoo account. And you can also find me at JW_wildlife photography, where I will be posting my pictures of real world animals from zoos and wildlife parks, and even out and about in the wild. So yeah, and you can also find me on X, formerly Twitter, at JW_YT, but Twitter's not a great place at the moment. Especially if they're going to start charging to use it. I'm not going to do that. So yeah, and all I'm doing here is just adjusting the climbing structure so the keepers can access the feeding platform. And then it should be onto the cinematics. A bit of planting inside. Anyway, thank you for watching, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to hit that like button if you have, and subscribe to the channel. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at JW_YT and on Instagram at JW_wildlife photography as well. Here is the finished article. Until the next time, my friends, stay safe, stay kind, and I shall see you all in that next video when we embark on the Jaguar complex, one of the biggest builds I will be doing in the zoo. Until then, my friends, bye-bye for now.